Welcome to From the Stands, your one-stop shop podcast for insider access and in-depth interviews with your favorite Billiken coaches and players. Be sure to follow the show on Twitter at Billiken Podcast for the latest news on future episodes. Now, here is your host, Billiken Athletic Director, Chris May.
Welcome, Billiken fans, to From the Stands, where we talk Billiken sports. We've got a special conversation we're going to have today with Coach Bel Tillett and Bel Tillett, who happens to be on the women's basketball team. Typically, normal conversation we have, this one's going to be a little special because this is where we're going to get some inside tea, as my man Jordan calls it. From Bel, welcome. Good to have you both. Now, first, a little bit about Bel. Bel is a redshirt sophomore. What's really special about her is she was part of the team at Longwood where they went to the NCAA tournament, part of our first NCAA tournament win, part of our WNIT win, been a member of all those teams. So she's been around nothing but winning in her whole collegiate career. So welcome, Bel. Good to have you. And then we all know Rebecca. Rebecca is here in starting her third year, won the NCAA. We didn't win the NCAA tournament, but we're going to win the NCAA tournament. But won the A10 tournament, went to the NCAA tournament for the first time, win the WNIT tournament here in year three. Welcome, both of you. Super special, I think, when you get to talk with people who, Rebecca, you and I have talked about it, coaching your children. Mm-hmm. Not easy at times. There's pluses and minuses. So we'll start with you, Rebecca, before we get the good stuff from Bel. How do you look at coaching your daughter? Okay, she's a player, she's a Billiken. How do you manage the ups and downs of when is it Bel and when is it the player? Yeah. Or is it all the same all the time?
Really great question. You know, I got some good advice along the way. This will be an incredible opportunity of time. And you and I have talked about this, most parents say goodbye to their kids and drop them off at college. I get to say hello almost every day that we have basketball. I think in the practice setting, it's really hard to tell that we're mother and daughter. She doesn't say my name much because what is she going to call me? Coach, Mom, Tillett, you know, she avoids that, I think, a little bit. But I think in the practice setting, just thinking about each woman individually as a player and how do we help them get better and then how do we help them gel as a unit, I think that is really clear and concise in practice. It's some of the other moments. You're on the bus or you're on the flight and you know, she is my daughter. So there's moments that mom comes out and I have to reorient myself of where am I in this moment. But I think we've done a good job together of what are those lines that are coach player. And then when the practice is over, we're mother daughter too.
Okay, Bel. She says she does a really good job of drawing this line. How good a job does she do at drawing the line?
Okay, I'll give her a lot of credit. She does do a really good job. Like in between the lines when we walk into shave fits, you wouldn't know that we're related. But as soon as we step out of those lines of practice, I will say, Mom, can you take me to do this, this, and this after? Like she does a good job, but you can tell that we gel a little bit.
Now, you were sharing before we started here today, maybe an adjustment in practice that sometimes she makes that maybe isn't where you thought it would be. And how do you communicate that back?
I try to communicate it back as a player, but it sometimes comes off as a daughter. It's just I'm her daughter, so we think alike, and if I think she's wrong, like, we're going to butt heads. She is the head coach, so she gets the final say, but I'm going to speak my piece as a player first, but then I might trickle into the daughter section just a little bit. Sometimes. Not quite often, but when it's necessary, maybe.
Okay, you come from family of coaches, okay? Were you ever coached so did your dad coach you?
So I was coached by my dad when I was young, but he made a clear distinction when I got to high school and felt like I might have needed to be coached by somebody else. I actually only coached Bel twice before college. So once as like a 5-year-old soccer player, like many parents do. Yeah, we've all done that. Yes, and then once as a like 4th grader basketball player. And that's it, because once you get into college coaching, you can't coach your same gender child. Mm-hmm. So I never coached her again until she came to play for us.
So what advice did your dad give you? When you went into this college space, way different deal, right? Yeah. So what advice did you get from your dad and your family?
Yeah, my dad especially, just such an incredible coach. You know, he'll often say, I'm not at practice with you, so any advice that I give you, he qualifies all of his advice because he was a coach for so long and so many people want to give coaches or athletic directors advice.
Free advice day.
Free advice.
We get free advice.
But it's those moments in practice, right? We talked about as a team yesterday, practice is sacred. And if you treat practice that way, then great things happen for teams. And I think I learned that from my dad from a really early age, just observing without him even telling me, just seeing the importance of the teams that he led, the boys in soccer and high school teams, and seeing that. And I think his advice is, right, learn every day. There are going to be challenges. There's going to be, he doesn't think his failure is a bad word. I try to pass that on to our teams. Failing isn't a bad thing. It's feedback. Now let's learn from it and let's rise up.
Bel, what advice do you have to those other people out there that are getting coached by their parents or about ready to get coached by their parents? Because I've been around just a few head coach, student athlete, and it's not an easy thing from a student athlete perspective. I actually think it's easier on the coach than it is on the student athlete at times. So what you've figured out how to do it, what advice would you give to those other people who go through the same thing?
I would say just maintaining like that open and honest relationship that you had before coming in. I mean, honestly, like you don't want any favors as the daughter. You don't want any like the short end of the stick because you're the daughter. You kind of want that in between. So I think, I mean, we have meetings like maybe 5 times a year, as every player does, just keeping that open and honest relationship because at the end of the day, she's my mom, but she's also my coach. So just kind of that. I know 2 years ago, today now, there was only 1 in 4 parent-child duos in Division I basketball. So I know it's not a very common thing, but yeah.
So let's move forward to this fall, okay? How's training going? We'll start with you, Bel, first, so we don't have to listen to the head coach program. How's training going, and what are you most looking forward to as we prepare for that first non-conference game?
I think training is going really well. I think this team is picking up things really fast, which sometimes in the past, like we would think we know something, but we don't. But I think I'm really excited to see how fast we're going and not really standing still or taking a step back every day. We're progressing. And yeah.
Rebecca, what are you looking most forward to for that first exhibition game and really first non-conference game? Super hard. Had somebody call me today going, what was she doing with the non-conference schedule? Because clearly playing some high-level non-conference teams. What are you really looking forward to as we get ready for that first moment?
You know, I think the opportunity to see your team compete live the first time, it's always got some surprising elements. And I think the longer you coach, the more you realize what you don't know is going to come and hit your team. And so it's the mindset that you're teaching your team and your staff and yourself as the head coach of there are going to be challenges, there's going to be opportunities for us as we approach this. Really excited about our non-conference schedule and the tests that we'll face together. And as Bel was saying, this group continues to take a step each day. Concepts seem to be picked up quickly. Mm-hmm. Can we give ourselves enough adversity prior to those first matchups is really the space we're in right now.
Perfect word, because it goes into my next question, adversity, training through adversity. We do this little thing on Friday mornings in the fall. How about sharing with Billiken Nation out there what we do as we train with the Marines? What's the strategy and what are we really trying to get out of that process?
Yeah. I think toughness with the Marine Corps is central to what we do, especially in preparation for the season. We're so fortunate in St. Louis that, minimum like 5 Marines are showing up Friday mornings at 6 a.m. to work with our team and share with us that it's one of the most exciting things they have on their plate to give back to the community. We actually had a manager last year also join the Marines. So just incredible that, those connections are being made. From a leadership standpoint, it is how can we put our team in challenging situations, give them opportunities to rise up as leaders, create camaraderie, figure out challenges. There's a great story we would tell in recruiting as a staff, and then we heard Peyton retell the story to recruits using the same words we used as a staff. Mm-hmm. So as a staff, we always say, if we told our women ahead of time the activity, the challenge they had for the day, they'd be like, there's no way. We cannot do that. They're asking for something that cannot be done. And yet every single time they rise, meet the challenge, and walk out with their arms around each other. They're done for the day on Friday after toughness of the Marine Corps. And we once heard Peyton retell that to a recruit's family in the exact same language. And that's what it is. Can you complete this challenge that you think you might not be able to? Your brain's telling you no, your body might be telling you no. Yet you figure out as a group how to do it together.
And we talk all the time that the harder you make it in practice makes the games that much easier, right? And the more adversity you can go through before it really starts game time, It works. So, Bel, tell us the truth. Your mindset before the first time you trained with the Marines on a Friday morning. What were you? Give us the story.
I was shaking in my boots. So I was a freshman. The seniors back then, they didn't really give us like the whole rundown that we give the freshmen now. They didn't prep us correctly, right? So we're waking up, we're walking in there, and it was Sergeant Major at the time. He's like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna run a mile around campus carrying the heaviest things we could find, and you guys are gonna last, and you're not gonna drop a single thing. And we ended up doing it after a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but it was a good learning experience. And looking back at it now, it's like we're doing the same thing but different challenges in the way, and it's a good reflection of.
So what's the feeling when you help that freshman by the end of the fall, the freshman who the first time they went into it thought, no way, I have no shot, that they actually get through it and they have success walking out that last time? Tell me, as the upperclassman now, as a leader, what's that do for you, and how does that help you position the team for success moving forward?
I mean, it's just a great feeling. I know in one of my past groups in TMC, I had Hannah in my group, and she's great. She's a sponge. And just seeing her like excel, or like understanding the concept of like, no, we're going to do this together. We're going to do this at the same time, and it's going to be perfect. And walking out and her being like, I'm just so glad we got it done and we did it the right way. It's a good feeling as a leader to, watch your underclassmen.
Because it's all part of it, right? It's all part of the prep to get ready for that first game. All right, Bel, what are the expectations, and what do Billiken Nation need to expect when our women's team hits the floor this fall?
I would expect some high-scoring games, some holding teams. I mean, I think it's a goal to hold teams below 60, 65 this year. We're really working on our D. Just come for some loud, competitive games and a lot of dubs in Chaffetz Arena. All
right. Rebecca, what should Billiken fans, from your perspective, of this team? Each team's different, right? Yeah. And that's what I find so fascinating about all sports, especially basketball, about how you can just change one or two pieces and it's a totally different team. What do you think people should expect, or what do you want people to know about this team?
Yeah, this team in particular has significant depth. I think you're going to see quite a few women contributing in multiple ways, different than maybe we have in past years. I think we'll consistently score the ball as we have been. As you know, Chris, we are working very hard on our D and our discipline in that space. Mm-hmm. We think we can really grow in that. So I'm looking forward to the growth of our women in those spaces, and then also just a family-friendly environment where you're going to see people celebrate each other, celebrate big plays, women that are really rooting for each other's success. I think this team will show that early.
Celebrating those defensive stops. Yes. What you and I talked about, though, honestly, the WNIT was an unbelievable example of collective defense that just got better and better and better, and finished at the best that it was all season at the end.
Absolutely.
Super cool.
That's the goal. We just need to figure out how to do it faster. That's the goal. That's what we've been spending a lot of time researching, and our women are very invested in that process right now.
Very cool. Okay, anything else you want to share with the Billiken fans? Bel, it's all you. What do you want them to know before we call it a day here and we do a final Go Bills?
Let me think. I would say come meet us Friday at Billiken Basketball Night to watch us scrimmage. Need some support, and it's going to be a really competitive and passionate game.
There you go. Rebecca?
Yeah, come out to Chaffetz Arena. This is a special group of women. They're fierce, they're determined, they're ready to go achieve new goals. Every year we want to get better, so we're after some bigger things this year.
Great. Thank you, guys. Billiken fans, thanks for joining us with our podcast here. We're now finishing all podcasts with the Go Bills from our people, so it's all you guys.
1, 2, 3. Go Bills!
Go Bills!
Thanks for listening to From the Stands with Billiken Athletic Director Chris May. Subscribe to our podcast in the iTunes Store and have the latest episodes sent straight to your phone. Go Billikens!